Hello and welcome back to the Stacey West YouTube channel. I'm back for another preview, this time looking ahead to, and it's always a really contentious topic this, is it a derby or isn't it? But to a potential derby at home against Peterborough United on Saturday. Back at St Bank after last weekend's victory. To talk all things Peterborough, I am joined as ever when we discuss Peterborough by Keelan from the Football Fancast, someone who I used to work with on the Real EFL as well. Keelan, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. You?
I'm very well. Do you know, I think it's probably fair that we let everybody know. I was a little bit late to organise the preview this week. Myself and Ben weren't quite sure who was going to be on it. And I messaged Keelan yesterday saying, are you up for our biannual tradition of talking Lincoln v Posh? And Keelan thought, I forgot about him. He thought that I wasn't going to even be inviting him on this time. I could never do that, especially not when we do need to be talking about Peterborough. And you guys aren't doing very well. So I'm quite looking forward to seeing the misery all over your face whilst you are talking about them. And I think that's probably where we'll start, Keelan, because, what was it, 19th place in the league? It's not exactly the Peterborough United that we expect this season. Obviously, we'll get into the specifics on the stats side of it in a moment, but just before we even get to that, what went wrong in the summer? Do you think it was an issue in the summer that's now meant that this season is going as poorly as it is?
Well, I think you could probably, look at the fact that we, bowed out of the League One playoffs to Oxford. I think that really hurt us psychologically. We then obviously, off the back of that, we had such a really positive season, won the EFL trophy. We then lost Harrison Burrows, Josh Knight, Ronnie Edwards. Ephraim Mason-Clark went to Coventry. It was just a case of we just lost so many great players. And obviously, looking back now, hindsight's a good thing, but we didn't recruit well enough and we brought a lot of youth in, or we haven't really recruited in certain areas, pushed academy graduates up into the senior fold, and it's just not really worked. Certain signings we thought were going to be great, like Rio Abadisi's been injured all season. It's just been a lot of errors, really, and it's all just culminated in, as you say, a surprise relegation battle at the moment, which is quite bleak to say, but when you look at the table, as you say, we are dangerously close to it. So
now, on that, because it was a question that I kind of wanted to pose at some point throughout the preview, you've just brought it up there, so I guess we do need to mention it. Do you genuinely think that you're in a relegation battle this season, or is that just the pessimist outlook and actually you don't think you are? You think you'll be fine?
There's certain performances, and you look at us and you think there's quality there, and then we just let in a stupid goal, or last time out when we played, we conceded a last-minute penalty to Exeter, and Exeter had barely shown anything all match. And it just feels like, as much as there are positives in the displays, there's these lingering issues that keep coming up. And, if you're not getting wins on the board, you get gradually sucked into it. I think Crawley have got a couple games in hand. They're not doing great, but theoretically, if they were to win those, we then get pushed down into it. And it does feel a little bit like if you keep not winning, you get gradually more and more into it. But, there is a slight belief with Dara McAntony, the chairman, that we won't be in it, but it remains to be seen. I do think there's enough quality there, but we need to start showing it more.
Absolutely. Now, in there, you mentioned recurring issues. And one of your biggest recurring issues over the course of this season in particular has been the amount that you've let in. You've conceded the most in the league, I believe, overall. You've definitely conceded the most per match. Granted, you're still very much up there in terms of goals per match, but obviously your goal difference is still in the negative and you're simply not anywhere near even mid-table solidity. Only one clean sheet all season. And like I say, all of those defensive metrics do look extremely poor. Why is that? Is that a personnel issue? Is that the way that you're setting yourselves up tactically? Or is it a culmination of the two and maybe other factors?
Yeah, no, I'd say it's probably a culmination of the two. I think obviously last season with players like Ronnie Edwards, who for the division was an unbelievable passer of the ball, could just coast out of defence and find a great ball. You then expect someone like Manny Fernandez, an academy player, push him into the first team and then play an identical way. And Manny's more of a physical, imposing defender. And you just make a lot of errors. You have, Oscar Wallen that we bought from Sweden, who's getting used to it. You then give him the ball and expect him to do things that Josh Knight did, where Josh Knight, would have probably, if he didn't move to Hanover, might have been looking at a championship move or thereabouts. So I do think it's a lot of the fact that we've recruited quite poorly. We haven't replaced the likes of Ronnie Edwards and Josh Knight at the back, but also we're expecting players that maybe aren't up to those standards to play out from the back. And it just causes a lot of issues. I mean, Nicholas Bilakapic is a good shot stopper, but he's not the best with the ball at his feet. He's quite panicky. You got someone like George Never as well, who's a backup centre-back, looks very nervy whenever he plays. So I just think it's a culmination of issues. And obviously when you're playing so poorly and you're conceding a lot of goals, I do think mentally it can have an impact on you. So yeah, the defence has been very poor, as you say.
Well, on the other side of it, as I did kind of mention earlier on, your attacking metrics are still relatively strong. But obviously that's something that we've come to expect from Peterborough sides over the last however many seasons in League One. Specifically, I remember around this time last year, you were averaging 2 goals a game, and it was billed as this really kind of high-scoring team, and you were able to kind of pummel sides up until then you go on some random losing run for kind of 5 or 6 matches, and you can't seem to get a goal or a win for love nor money. But at the moment, like I say, you're still on that kind of really strong trajectory in terms of goals per match. I still think you're sat in 3rd place, which is brilliant, but it's not like, and I always kind of use this as the one of the kind of example team of we'll score one more than you. I always think back to Leeds coming out of COVID and when they were literally having 4-3 either way every weekend, it seemed. But you guys aren't doing that because obviously you're still conceding more than what it is that you're able to put in the back of your opposition net. But in terms of your strengths offensively, is that being consistent throughout the whole season, or do you think it has started to tail off now and, your poor run of form has probably hit your attack harder than what you'd kind of hoped it would do?
Yeah, I was going to say in the last 2 games or the last couple of games, really, we drew a blank at home recently. We only scored 1 against Exeter when, if we were full of confidence like we were at the start of the season, we probably put 3 or 4 past them. I do think there's a couple players, Ricky J. Jones was having an unbelievable start to the season. He's tailed off. There's rumours he might be leaving for a move up to the Championship. Obviously, a player like Kean Hayes has been fantastic coming in, but he was League 2 last season, a bit inconsistent. Malik Motherstill's the same. He's a very hot and cold footballer. And, we're still without Kwame Poku, who's injured. And I think at the start of the season, we just had, a really great attack, but it's not sustainable, as you say, to score as many as we do and then concede as many as we do. I mean, if anything, as an attacker, if you're scoring the amount of goals we were at the start of the season and you're seeing loads of goals hit the back of, our net, you get frustrated and you get a little bit annoyed with how poorly the defence is doing. But yeah, it has tailed off a bit recently. And I just think there's a general lack of confidence. And also, I do think Fergie at points is putting on, players like Gustav Lindgren, who we've signed from Sweden. He needs to get up to speed of it. And you're expecting a lot from players in pressurised moments, and they've not really had that chance to settle in yet. So I do think we still are strong in attack, and I think we can, as the goal against Exeter showed, we can do some nice free-flowing football, and Kripianu scored a good goal. But yeah, it is worrying at the moment because we are drawing quite a few blanks, which you're not accustomed to with Peterborough at the moment. So.
Well, you might say that it's worrying. For us, it certainly isn't. Especially considering some of the results that we've had, both home and away, against you guys over the past however many seasons. And what's interesting as well is your away record. Your away record actually putting you in the relegation zone with that. Don't get me wrong. Your stadium is hardly a fortress, so you can't really rely on the home crowd too much. Some may say different, of course, but I've never heard any home fans actually make a single peep when I've been away to the it's the Western Homes, the Western Homes Stadium or whatever it is that they want to call it this week with Bob the Builder coming out. But I'd say your away record, does that kind of fill you with a little bit more dread when you are kind of thinking about your games coming up on a Saturday, that you know that going away from home, it could very easily turn quite sour quite quickly?
Yeah, and I think, in the past couple seasons when we have been doing well and being in the top end of the table, London Road was a fortress really, or we would get a lot of our positive results there, and then maybe pick up a draw and a win away from home, and it would be steady. But yeah, we've just lost a lot of away games recently. I mean, we've had quite a few tough away games recently. We had Wrexham away and Stockport away. Obviously, they're two promoted teams, but good fan bases and a lot more well drilled and organised than we are. And I do think, as a home team, we're coming to you. You're going to be full of confidence and you're going to expect a goal or an error is going to come up just based off how glaringly bad our defensive record is. You're going to feel like there's going to be an opening somewhere. And I know Lincoln aren't the most, they don't score a lot per game, but you would imagine you get one sniff at it, you would be maybe confident that Bilakapic might drop it and there's a rebound, or one of our defenders makes an error because you've pushed up and you're pressurizing them. So I think we're slightly an easy team to read. And then once the home team gets a goal, I do think we basically just go, oh God, it's happening again. We just completely recede into our shell. So yeah, it is worrying, the away form, for sure.
Now, I made a point on the podcast yesterday when we recorded the full thing regarding the way I kind of predict it and see it going could very easily go two ways. And I think for us, it depends on how quickly we start. The way I've been kind of reading into it, again from the outside looking in at Peterborough, I have a feeling that if we can get an early goal, especially considering how many normally travel down to Lincoln or up to Lincoln to watch the game, I feel like if we can get an early goal, get at the side and also have the fans then turn a little bit, then it could be 2 or 3. And that's not something that we've seen quite often with Lincoln recently in terms of our goal scoring. We've struggled in front of goal for really the whole first half of the season. But this is an opportunity for us to potentially just gain a little bit of confidence in that as well. Would you agree that scoring early could be the pivotal part of the game?
I think, if you score early, I think we saw it at Burton away. Burton are down the bottom, barely won a game this season, and we travelled to them recently and they got, 2 quick fire goals and there were a lot of negative chance. Obviously, we came back into the game and drew 2-2. But yeah, I do think there is a slight edge in the fan base that when the going gets tough, it gets a little bit toxic at the moment. But obviously in recent games, we've drawn 0-0 against Leyton Orient, who are doing quite well in the league. And it's just purely because we have solidified a little bit at the back. I would say that there are 2 home games, so it remains to be seen whether or not we can do that. Away at Lincoln, obviously your fan base will be up for the game and ours will be a little bit nervy. So it all depends on how it plays out. But yeah, hopefully it's not too long of a game because I am a bit fearful.
Well, let's hope that we can make sure to start quickly and get those kind of few goals just to really give a bit of a boost. Now, Keelan, obviously I do this whenever you come on. And I've also got to say my choice as well a little bit later on. But prediction in terms of the game, there's a few ways that this could go. You've already been a little bit pessimistic at times. What do you think? Do you think Lincoln have got a great chance at getting a solid victory over you, or do you think it'll be a lot harder than what on paper maybe suggests?
Yeah, and I think there have been positives in our last two games. They've not been defeats. I know that shows how how far the standards have dropped. Really, the two draws at home you're taking, but there have been positives. I think if it hadn't been for a penalty in the last minute versus Exeter, we would have beaten them, and maybe that would then breed a bit of confidence going into this one. But yeah, I think it'll be nervy. I don't think it's going to be full of goals. Our last few games, haven't been really. We've only lost 1-0 away at Exeter, at Wrexham even. So, we'll go another 1-1. I think that's maybe.
Yeah.
I don't want. I don't know. I can't bring myself to give you the glee of predicting defeat. So we'll go 1-1.
The same as the reverse fixture there, which would certainly be quite interesting. Now, I am probably going to have to go for the same prediction I made on the podcast yesterday. And you may either hate this or you may even love this. I can see this being a 3-0 either way. And I just don't know which way it'll go. Because always in the back of my mind is it's Peterborough. Don't matter what the form book says. Yeah. Doesn't matter how things are going. It's Peterborough United for us. And that's always got this kind of extra air of, as I said earlier on, there's that little bit of a rivalry to it. And it's been you've been a bit of a bogey side for us over the last few seasons. So I'm thinking a 3-0, either way could be the way it goes. Or it could be, we're 3-0 up and then a referee just decides to let you get it back to 3-0 just to save some face or whatever. Those things never happen, do they? John Busby, he'll never be forgiven. So, like I say, that's going to be a very, very interesting game. I'm very much looking forward to watching the match on Saturday. For those of you who are also going to be there, I hope you very much enjoy the game. For all the Peterborough fans, if any of you guys are watching and travelling down, safe journeys. Enjoy the match, enjoy the atmosphere, as it will be as good as ever for this match, as it is every time these two teams play against each other. But until next time, up the Imps.
Lincoln City are the team, the race is their name. Sincil Bank is their home ground and football is their game. So come and cheer them on, you lads, support them all the way. Oh, 'tis our delight for the red and white, the Imps are here to stay. Oh,